All right, old school NBA fans, self-researched NBA facts. I got another video here. This one here, I don't really ever hear many people talk about it. Maybe I've heard it a couple times, but when you have a physical advantage, okay, you already, you got a big advantage. You have a physical advantage. That is not the same thing as being a more skilled player, being a smart player, knowing what to do in the moment, not to fold under the pressure, to rise up in those pressure situations, to knock down those 2 free throws. That's when your physical advantage does not help you. And another thing that can help you is how the refs call it. I'll get into the specific players I'm going to talk about, but if they call it by the letter, it's completely different. You can nullify a lot of these physical advantages, but when you let these players get away with it, it's not so much skill. Like I said, it's just about you letting them use their physical advantages they already have to their benefit, and you're not making it really fair, I guess you could say. But when it was called fairly, it was a different story. So, anyway, the first player that I was going to talk about is Kareem. Kareem was 7'2", okay? He didn't necessarily have he wasn't a big, huge monster, but he was tall, very tall, long arms. He had a huge advantage. He really did. Back in 1970, the starting centers in the league were 6'10", 6'7", 6'10", 6'9", 6'11", 7 foot, a guy named Finkel, who came in after Bill Russell. 6'9", 6'11", 6'9", 6'10", 7 foot, a guy named Bowerwinkle. Wilt Chamberlain was 7'1". He was the one player that was, pretty much as big as Kareem, and he did play Kareem tough. And then 6'9". So the majority of these guys are 3, 4, 5 inches shorter than Kareem. He's got a big physical advantage right there. Then you look at 1975, okay? I just went every 5 years. This is the heights of the starting centers in the NBA. 6'10", 6'10", 6'11", 6'10", 6'9", 6'11", 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, 6'10", 6'11", 7 foot, 6'7", 6'10", 6'10", 6'9", 6'9". So he's got anywhere, not counting Wes Unseld at only 6'7", but he's typically got anywhere from a 3 to 5 inch height advantage. Now I'm about 6 foot tall, so if I'm constantly playing against guys that are between say 5'7" and 5'9", I dominate them in the post. I don't care how muscular they were. I got a height advantage, so I'm just gonna get in the post, turn around, shoot right over them. They're gonna have to jump even when I don't. And that's a lot of the times what happened. 1980, the league did get a little bigger. They were 6'9", 6'10", 6'9", 6'9", 6'11", 6'9", 6'10", 6'11", 6'10", 6'11". Robert Parrish was 7'1", and Artis Gilmore was 7'2", and those guys did, give Kareem some issues. And by 85, the league was getting bigger somewhat, but still only a handful of guys his size. Of the 22 other centers, the only ones even close to him in 1985, Robert Parrish was 7'1", Randy Brewer of Milwaukee was 7'3", Tree Rollins of Atlanta was 7'1", Olajuwon was 7 foot, and Sam Bowie was 7'1", and also Donaldson was 7'2". James Donaldson was 7'2". So you do have, a few more players that are about as tall as he is. But throughout the whole 70s into the early 80s, this guy just had a huge advantage, a height advantage. But that's not even the biggest advantage. that we've seen. All right, let's take a look at Shaq. Shaq is 7'1", 325 pounds. Now, here's the players that are anywhere near his size. Bill Cartwright, 7 foot, 245 pounds. So he's 1 inch shorter and 80 pounds less. Olajuwon is 7 foot but 255, so he's given up 1 inch and 70 pounds. Robinson is 7'1", same height, 235, so he's given up 90 pounds. Mutombo is 7'2", but 245, he's given up 80 pounds. I mean, just so on and so forth. Vlade Divac, 7'1", 243. Ewing, 7 foot, 240. They're giving up 70, 80 pounds on this guy. In 2000, the only guys, again, anywhere near him was Michael Olowokande was 7 foot, 269. That's still 55 pounds and 1 inch smaller. Luke Longley was also 7'2", but he was 265, giving up 60 pounds. That's a lot. I mean, even for somebody like my size, that's like giving up 40 pounds. Again, if somebody's my height, but they weigh 40 pounds less, I'd be able to take advantage of that. But that's only a handful of players. Rick Smith, 7'4", but only 250. Nobody was as big as Shaq. Nobody. Greg Ostertag was as close as you get. 7'2", 280. And not ironically, he bothered Shaq in 97 and 98 when they played Utah. Utah beat him in 5 and then swept them. So when you get somebody who's about his size, Malone also a bigger player, you know, that can affect things. So what can you say? The only other players on here that I saw anywhere near him besides Ostertag was like Yao Ming, who was 7'6", 310 pounds. Of course, that was later in Shaq's career, but, you know, he did play pretty good against Shaq if you go back and look at those games. So another guy was Wilt Chamberlain. Obviously, Chamberlain was 7'1", 275. The centers, when he came to the league in 1960, were 6'10", 6'9", 6'8", 6'9", 7 foot, 6'9", and 6'10". So he's got anywhere between 1 to 5 inch advantage. And the weights, the heaviest guy was Clyde Lovellette, was 234 pounds, so he's got 40 pounds on him. It's like Shaq before Shaq was there. In 1965, similar. Wayne Embry was 240 pounds, so he's only 6'8", giving up 5 inches. Walt Bellamy was 225, 6'11", only 2 inches, but 50 pounds. Same with Russell. Russell was 6'10", 215. He was giving up 3 inches and 60 pounds to Wilt Chamberlain. Hold on. All right, so yeah, Shaq had just unbelievable physical advantages. I mean, basically his whole career. I mean, there wasn't really anybody his size. There was a couple of guys later on, like Yao Ming, a couple others, and the real issue came down to the league allowing him to do what he did. If they were going to call it correctly, a guy is standing his ground outside the restricted zone with both his arms up, and you move him 1 inch, that's an offensive foul. They didn't call it that way. A lot of times they let him bump you, and then dunk when you're under the rim. I mean, well, yeah, you give this guy's already got a huge physical advantage, and you're not going to call it fairly. What do you expect? And I have LeBron and Shaq a lot lower down the list than a lot of people. A lot of people got him. You know, I've seen Shaq as high as 3 by some of these talking heads on. I think Skip Bayless had him 3rd. I'm like, give me a break. Again, you're talking about physical advantages, not skill. Does not make you a better player. Besides the fact that he was a detriment in the last few minutes at the free throw line, he wasn't the guy who was going to win the game for you. When it was close down the stretch, you know, he had huge advantage. Shaq did. He's not even in my top 10. I bumped him out. Now, Wilt, he was more skilled. Now, he did have physical advantages, but the refs called it. They called it if he was going to bump people out of the way, offensive foul. So a lot of times you see Wilt shooting fadeaways and stuff. You know, he had to because he knew that if he drove in and knocked the guy over, he's going to get called for a foul. They didn't do that in Shaq's era. But my thing about Wilt was he didn't step up in the playoffs, and he needed historically great teams to finally win a championship, 67 and 72. I think it was 68 and 13 and 69 and 13. I mean, if he didn't have a team like that, he didn't win. You know, he blew leads. There's a lot of reasons for why I don't have Wilt as high as a lot of other people do. He is, I think I got him 9th. And then the last player I was going to talk about is LeBron James. Now, LeBron James, of course, has a huge physical advantage, being 6'9" and, 250 pounds. Well, I looked it up. How many players met that criteria who played regular minutes? In 2005, I just did it like every 5 years. I'd be here all day if I did every year. The only players who played any kind of regular minutes, Ron Artest was 6'7", 260, but he only played like 7 games that year. Zach Randolph was 6'9", 250. Carlos Boozer was 6'9", 258. And Elton Brand was 6'9", 275. But these guys were all power forwards. You know, they didn't play small forward, and they definitely weren't as quick as LeBron James was. That's a whole nother physical advantage, but I'm just talking about just how you stand, how you are, your height, your weight. In 2010, the players who played regular minutes, you had Glenn Big Baby Davis. He wasn't even starting. He was 6'9", 289. He wasn't in great shape. You had Elton Brand again, Carlos Boozer again, Meta World Peace again. Ryan Gomes for Minnesota was 6'7", 250. Boris Diaw was 6'8", 250. But these guys were also power forwards, a lot of them. Max Seal for Detroit was 6'7", 260. He played center. These guys are playing down low. They're not guarding the perimeter. In 2015, you had Jared Solinger, David West, Rudy Gay, and Boris Diaw. 4 guys were the same size as LeBron. And again, they were all power forwards. 2020, you had Bam Adebayo, Julius Randle, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love, Rudy Gay, all power forwards. Tristan Thompson and Derek Favors, they were centers. Those are the guys who met the criteria of LeBron. And this year, 2024, 2 guys, Naz Reid and Bam Adebayo. That's it. That's the only guys as big as LeBron. So he's got a huge physical advantage. Then you bring in the refs, allowing him to do whatever the hell he wants. He's allowed to lead with his head, lead with his shoulder, lead with his elbow, and even hook players. He does this all the time. And they don't call it. It's unbelievable what they let him get away with. The traveling, the carrying, the switching pivot feet. I mean, it's just unbelievable what he's already got these tremendous physical advantages. And, then the refs allow them to get away with this stuff. That's why Shaq and LeBron, I'm just not as impressed with them skill-wise. It was just sheer physical ability. That's not the same thing as being a skillful player with a high IQ who plays well under pressure. Those are completely different attributes than just being the biggest guy, and you already have this huge advantage. I mean, what can you say, and with that being said, Shaq, he got swept a lot. He did win 4 championships, but always had tremendous help his whole career. LeBron had great help too. He won 4 championships. 2 of those was lucky to win at all. He needed a miracle 3 and all that, but that's why I have those guys lower, because I wasn't impressed with them. Now, if they would have won, 7, 8 championships and all that kind of stuff, maybe I would have looked at them a little different. But with all those physical advantages, and that's all you could muster up, playing as long as you did. I mean, Shaq played, 19 years? And LeBron played 21 years. They got 4 and 4 championships. With all that help you guys had, I'm sorry, but I'm just not as impressed. So again, that's probably it for this video. I hope you guys feel the same way I do. Again, if the refs called this stuff correctly, they would have not been anywhere near as effective as they were. Wilt to a lesser degree, for different reasons. I don't have him ranked as high, but he did have physical advantages. He absolutely did. He should have dominated the Celtics. He should have just, everything should have ran through him. They should have dominated. They should have, beat Boston at least, more than once when he had the great team in '67. He beat him one time. That's it. So anyway, that's it. And hopefully you guys feel the same way I do. And thanks for watching.